People used to treat me like I was nothing, an echo in a world that thrived on silence. My father, Elias Broadry, a 64-year-old black veteran, became the unwitting centerpiece of a cruel joke in Brantley, Mississippi, where the quiet streets darkened with an act of inhumanity. Two white police officers, Dean Riley and Brad Mullen, thought it would be entertaining to zip-tie him to a pole, mocking the very essence of his service and dignity. As Julian Broadry, the newly appointed chief of police, I received a call that shattered my composure. My father, subjected to humiliation, a victim of casual cruelty. Watching the body cam footage for the first time felt like an invasive film unspooling before me, unveiling the gut-wrenching reality of systemic injustice. My father, in an act of sheer bravery, remained composed, choosing silence over escalation, a learned response from years of enduring racial inequities. Fighting the conflict between my badge and familial loyalty, I confronted those officers, the tension thick with unspoken resentment. The aftermath of this incident echoed through our close-knit community, exposing their history of misconduct and igniting a fire for change. My decision to suspend and ultimately fire them was not just personal. It was a declaration of principle, a rejection of the cycle of hate. Through resistance and backlash, our story evolved into a movement. A civilian oversight board emerged, amplifying voices previously silenced by fear. In a touching moment, my father reminded me that true courage lies in standing up for the marginalized, regardless of the cost. What happened to him shouldn't happen to anyone, but I'm glad it did, for it brought us to this pivotal crossroad of accountability and justice. "Look at this guy, just loitering around," Officer Dean Riley sneered, smirking at his partner as they approached. "What's a 64-year-old vet doing here? I don't see anyone waiting for a bus." Elias Broadry straightened up, his weathered hands trembling slightly as he replied, "I'm just resting, officer. Been walking a while." "Resting? You're obstructing the sidewalk, old man," Mullen chimed in, chuckling under his breath. "How about you take a little time out?" They grabbed his arms, slapping zip ties around his wrists. The metallic click echoed like a gunshot in the silence of Brantley. "Hey, y'all can't do this," Elias protested, but the officers only laughed, treating him like a joke. "Look, Dean, it's like a display for the kids," Mullen joked, pretending to manipulate an invisible puppet. "What a legend." Elias's jaw clenched, his gaze steady as he held back the boiling anger. Years of experience navigating the unspoken rules kept him silent, though shame crept into his chest. Moments later, a call shattered Julian Broadry's morning. His father was tied to a pole. Julian felt an unbearable heat rise within him as he grabbed his badge, determination coursing through him. When he confronted the officers in the briefing room, his voice trembled with barely contained fury. "This man served our country, and you think this is funny?" The uneasy silence that followed cemented his resolve. He stood between the frail dignity of his father and the twisted power of the badge. Change had to come, and it started with him. The sun hung low over Brantley, Mississippi, casting an orange hue on the asphalt as Elias Broadry, a 64-year-old black veteran, stood quietly waiting for his grandson to pick him up. Two officers approached, their badges gleaming like forgotten promises. "Loitering," they said, though he hadn't done anything wrong. The first laugh, followed by the second, echoed in the stillness, tearing at Elias's stoic veneer. Zip ties clicked like handcuffs, turned cruel. They bound him to the pole, a spectacle, a show of power as they mocked his service, his dignity. He swallowed his anger, a visceral taste of betrayal, deciding to remain silent. Years of navigating a world that too often failed him taught him that sometimes silence spoke louder than words. Upon receiving the call, Julian Broadry's heart sank. His father, reduced to a joke on the blurry screens of body cam footage he never wished to see, was being disrespected in the same community he had served with honor. Tension clenched Julian's chest as he faced the officers in the morning briefing. Their casual bravado stung like fresh salt in an open wound. He wore the chief's badge now, but the role felt heavy, a weight he never anticipated carrying. As the story of the incident spread, Julian found his footing falter under the echoes of outrage and shame flooding through his department. His father's face haunted his thoughts, a reminder of the humanity lost in the chaos of authority. He demanded accountability, the moment approaching like thunderclouds gathering in the distance. But in the echoes of silence that followed his decision, Julian felt something shift. The air charged, alive with the weight of his resolve. The line was drawn, and for the first time, he couldn't ignore the truth. He had had enough. As Julian sat at his desk, the weight of the world pressed against his chest. The body cam footage played like a nightmare on loop. His father, a proud veteran, treated like a common criminal. A flicker of determination ignited within him. "Eyes on me," he demanded during the morning briefing. The officers shifted uncomfortably. He sensed their unease as he locked eyes with Dean and Brad, the perpetrators of the humiliation. "What happened to my father was unacceptable," he continued, voice steady. "We serve this community with respect. I expect the same from all of you." Julian knew there would be pushback, and the whispers would grow louder. Yet, a small victory lit the path ahead. A civilian oversight board was forming, signaling a shift from silence to accountability. One night he found himself alongside Elias, sharing a quiet moment on the porch. "I thought you'd be angry, son," Elias said softly, his gaze unwavering. "I am," Julian replied, "but I'm channeling it. I'm not going to back down." Foreclosure nodded, pride shining in his eyes. "Remember, courage isn't just about fighting, it's about making things right, even when it's hard." The next day, Julian suspended the officers, sending shockwaves through the station. His heart raced as he faced potential backlash, but he stood firm, bolstered by his father's lessons. Amid the chaos, Julian's resolve crystallized. He was not only reclaiming control of his department, but also crafting a legacy that honored what his father had fought for. The community's support swelled, turning whispers of dissent into a chorus for change. Julian smirked. Hope alive. This was only the beginning. Julian stood at the front of the police station briefing room, the air thick with tension. This was the moment he had both dreaded and anticipated. The very officers he was about to confront sat in a corner, their faces pale, aware that the tide was turning. "Dean Riley, Brad Mullen," he started, his voice steady but forceful. "2 days ago, you zip-tied my father, a 64-year-old black veteran, to a pole as if he were a criminal. You did this for fun." A murmur passed through the room, surprise mixed with discomfort, eyes darting between Julian and the officers. "What kind of sick joke is that?" His words hung in the air, heavy with accusation and purpose. "I have seen the body cam footage. I have lived it." As his colleagues shifted uncomfortably in their seats, Julian continued, forcing them to meet his gaze. "This isn't just about honor. This is about accountability." With each syllable, the officer's smugness unraveled. Riley's bravado crumbled as Julian pulled up the clips on the screen. "Look at him, silent, dignified. You took a man who devoted his life to serving this country and turned him into an object of ridicule. We are better than this." Julian's heart raced as Elias, sitting in the front row, met his gaze. In that moment, the silent triumph passed between them, a shared understanding of strength and resilience. As the footage played, Mullen's face flushed, the color draining as their peers realized the weight of their actions. Julian gestured toward the screen, the video illuminating the screen like the harsh spotlight of truth. The room felt electric, the atmosphere shifting from one of complicity to a collective awakening. "Effective immediately," Julian declared, not backing down. "Both officers are suspended pending investigation. Your actions are a stain on this department." Click. A murmur of approval rippled through the room, the balance of power subtly shifting as Julian took a step back, finally breathing. Elias's eyes glistened with unspoken gratitude. Silent applause echoed in Julian's heart as he recognized the new path they were forging together, a path where dignity and respect would triumph over shame and denial. PG, as I look back on those harrowing days, a quiet weight settles on my heart. My father's dignity, stripped away by those who took an oath to protect, is a wound that never fully heals. Yet out of that pain I found resolve. I stood at the crossroads of duty and justice, And though I faced backlash from peers and community alike, I made the choice to stand. Flow of such moments, I learned that power often reveals character, much like a storm reveals the strength of a tree. Watching my father maintain his composure amidst that cruelty taught me the depths of resilience. His lessons still echo. Standing up for what is right is not a noble act all the time, but a necessary one. Do you think I went too far? What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had someone treat you like that? I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences. Let's engage in this conversation about justice, power, and the human spirit. Comment below and let's discuss.